name is Demetrius Holt. I am a representative of Three Black Geeks. How are you?
Yes. Rob Edwards. How are you? Okay, Rob Edwards. I wrote The Princess and the Frog and this.
The Princess and the Frog and this. And what is this?
This is Defiant, the story of Robert Smalls. He was a slave who, at 23, commandeered the Confederate ship that he was working on, surrendered it to the Union, middle of the night, when the white crew took off for a break. It was the largest haul of the Civil War. He became he started a railroad, he started a publishing house. He was the reason why we have black people in the military, because he met with Lincoln and convinced him that we were courageous and brave and smart. He's the reason why we have public schools. He ran for Congress 5 times and won. We don't know anything about it. And so this is righting that wrong. We have the comic book, which is going to go out. Hopefully, kids will start reading it. We have 12 issues of this. 4 are coming out this year. We're already a bestseller in 3 categories on Amazon. We have a ton of 5-star reviews. We're hoping it's a movement. We're about to make a motion picture. We just are signing a A-list award-winning black director to work with us. It's amazing. It's an amazing ride.
All right. So now, when we talk about black stories,
yes,
do you feel like there's ever been a stigma to get away from when it comes to the black trauma of our history when it comes to storytelling?
Good. I'm glad you asked that, because that was the first thing when we started. The whole reason why we're doing the comic book is when we first started talking about it, everybody was like, aren't we tired of slave narrative? Slave stories, slave narratives. They're all whips and chains and whatever, and at the end of them, good, he's free. Roll credits, right? And it's like just struggle, crawl through the mud, whatever, shooting whatever. People get their feet cut off and all that kind of stuff. It's like nobody wants to see that. I don't want to see that. I always get triggered by that stuff. I want to tell an inspirational story, and I want to reclaim the slave narrative. Everybody else can look back in their history. We can't look to Africa because we don't know where we're from.
Don't know where we come from.
Slave days were terrible for us. The 10s, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s. Princess and the Frog took place in the 20s, and we were still not good time for us. We can't go back and tell those stories because I think we're telling them wrong. So this one, we're telling an inspirational story about a guy who was born a slave, yes, but who did incredible things. Stealing the planter at 23, they lined the deck with gunpowder, knowing that if the Confederates caught him, they'd blow themselves up because it would be, dragged through the streets if anything went wrong. What kind of bravery did that take? What kind of bravery did it take for a 23-year-old to go to Lincoln and make the argument that black people were worthy of fighting for the United States? It turned the war around. What kind of bravery would it take to start a publishing house, a railroad company, all these things? The publishing house was because we needed to tell each other where we were after slavery was over, right? I'm looking for my husband. I'm looking for my kids. We were sold all over the place. He started the railroad because we wanted to start businesses, but some companies wouldn't allow us to export our goods. So you just fix that problem. So all along the way, there were really inspirational things happening, but we don't tell those stories that way. And so, I wrote Princess and the Frog. I love inspirational stories that make people laugh and cry. I'm telling this story that way. So that's our approach.
So in your development process, have you had any stumbles where a studio or a major entity wanted you to change something for their benefit?
Well, see, that's always. When I worked on In Living Color, they didn't. It was hard to do. It was you're selling through an audience to your audience. You're selling through executives to your audience. It's really hard to do. Fresh Prince, when we did that, same thing. We were on the chopping block for a long time, and then we started to do numbers, and everybody talks about it now like, oh yeah, of course it was successful all the way. It was not. Doing a hip hop comedy at that time, who even understood what hip hop was? So doing this one, yes, we're getting a lot of pushback. Fortunately, Legion M is a company for fans by fans, and they get it. So they are helping, they're shepherding us along. and Stranger Comics, who is doing the comic book. The comic book is beautiful. The artwork in it is just astounding.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with Sebastian and his work. Yeah.
Oh my God! Yeah, right. Yeah, Sebastian is great. Sean Damian Hill is doing the insides. He's great. Ray Anthony Height is did a bunch of work for us. He's amazing. The cover is done by Nicholas Draper Ivey, who does Static Shock.
Right.
The best artists all said yes. And so this is our project. This is our passion project.
So now I got to ask the question: distribution. Where do you plan on putting it?
Yes. Everywhere. Well, it's interesting seeing what's happening now with the industry, right? That
Tell me about it.
I mean, this week Paramount, just got sold. We'll see what's happening with Disney. There's a lot of turmoil. So finding an audience, we have to find an audience with the help of these entities, and we're hoping that they will see this not as a risky project, but as a project that could break through and inspire and be huge. So that's part of our thing. That's why it's good that we have, like I say, the A-list director. We have, a writer who's, fairly decent. We have the stars that have been calling and just circling around us have been great. We got Marvin Jones producing. He's amazing and just super inspirational. He picks up the phone, calls. Everybody answers. Okay. So the team around it is really good, and we're hoping that will be undeniable. Mm-hmm. And that's the key right now. You can't just go in and come in with weak game. You had to say no. This is a lot of money waiting to be made if you just allow us to make this thing that will reach this audience that is way underserved.
Okay, so my thing is, looking forward to the future.
Yes.
Do you have any ideas about Black people within speculative fiction, within your storytelling prowess?
Oh yeah. Well, what's interesting about doing the research for this is we've talked a lot about is this a movie? Is this a series? Is this a bunch of series? Because every story that I hear as I'm just looking for just details and what is going on in these people's lives, every story I hear is worthy of a movie. There's this one guy, born a slave. His father was a slave owner, and he looked so much like his father that his father basically, had to get him out of the house because everybody was like, "Hey, what's going on there?" He went to England, went to Eton, went to the best colleges, became a lawyer, became a very wealthy lawyer in England, because England was free. When it was time to run for Congress, he came back to America and ran, basically an expatriate, came here and ran as ran and won a seat in Congress. Along with him was another guy who was basically a street preacher, was by all research I've been able to do, was illiterate, but he was charismatic. He was a community leader, and when he ran for Congress, same kind of thing, ran for and won his Congress seat. Those two guys served together along with Robert Smalls. But what an amazing story to tell about these two guys from these two very, very different places that we don't even think about as we go. This really wealthy British guy and this really, kind of the streets, preacher. Mm-hmm. So along with that, just tons and tons and tons of stories where it's a packed movie because there's a lot of history we just don't know from that time, 6 years.
Okay. Yeah. Well, another thing that I'm part of is a actual new streaming service that is trying to focus squarely on.
We need that desperately. Yes.
Speculative fiction, and this is the beta.
So, great!
So these are all the stories that are original stories, and then these are the stories that have already been created by other creators.
There you go.
And we are willing to help fund their first seasons soon as we get funded.
Oh, good.
And the idea of Black people in speculative fiction is that there's so little of us in that realm that we're only relegated to action, trauma.
Yeah, right. No, trauma is a big genre.
There's a Freudian slip there. But no, Yeah, action, comedy, and drama.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But
Yeah.
there's not enough of these to even have like a full category.
No, we can't get out of those categories unless people like, unless A-list writers, directors take on these projects. And when we do, because I think that there is this huge audience just kind of waiting, that is underserved, that is just waiting, like, if you build it, we will come. And
We're getting crumbs.
Yeah, exactly. We're getting crumbs, and we're getting the same old all the time. And
then when we do get something that's special, it's once a year. Supercell.
It's once a year. Yeah, exactly.
Castlevania Nocturne. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, isn't it great this freaky thing happened? Like, no. The freaky thing is the norm for us. We are storytellers. We come from a storytelling tradition. We like to tell relevant stories about ourselves, how we do things. That is the way Black people communicate.
Right.
That we tell stories through codes. About behavior, about whatever, or songs. Our blankets. Like everything. We tell stories through all of these things. And so why not let us tell stories for ourselves? I mean, so I love what you're doing. I keep saying to all my friends that the next thing to happen will be somebody to democratize streaming.
Well, it's happening on various levels because Colin Kaepernick just released his platform, where it's basically he wants to have creators basically be their own Disney, where they are their own idea house all the way down to distribution on their own.
Great.
Through the use of AI.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And I'm like, he's willing to try to give everyone the tools for that. But the problem we're still having is distribution. Where are you going to put this stuff? Is it going to be YouTube? Is it going to be Prime?
Yeah.
So
no, if it's small, if the gains in it, if the revenue in it is small, then the product is all you're limited by the revenues you can get. And this is true of even if you're talking about Amazon, Disney, Paramount Plus versus Netflix. That Netflix is a behemoth, and then everybody else is kind of fighting for whatever they have beyond that. Netflix can do whatever they want, and now they're kind of not even doing that. I mean, they're laying off people. They're scaling down,
and they're buying the foreign IP.
They're buying foreign IP, and they're buying Suits, shows from a million years ago, stuff like that. Great. Suits is an amazing show, but they're that's how they're reducing their expenditure. So that window is closing and closing and closing. This is this would be risk for them. It doesn't show up on the algorithm. You have to make the case. Best-selling graphic novel, people with track records. Hopefully that pushes through. But man, I tell you, that until you can make $100 million movie through these streaming services, they're just going to be like, off Broadway kind of things. That's my concern. Hopefully it's not true, but that is the concern.
To help alleviate for that, would it be possible for me to send you the access to this beta? And
help you. Yeah.
Take your time.
Absolutely.
Look through it.
Yeah, because that's kind of what we're doing. I don't know if you saw how Ava DuVernay did Origin.
Okay.
Yeah, that she went outside the studio system, found financing, made the movie without all of the overhead of you go through the studio and you're paying for the buildings that whatever you're paying for the lot, you're paying for not only the person that you're talking to, but you're paying the salaries of everybody around there. Disney, whatever the budgets are, whatever they are, but big chunk of that is the building you're working in. If you take that away, then you can make better movies for less money. And if you can find people with actual money who want to put it into your project, you can make that, and then it's a one-on-one relationship. You just give the money back.
So where does she put the film?
What?
Where does she put the film?
Well, see, that was the thing. She eventually, she had to go traditional distribution. I'm not sure I don't think that it made its money back. That was a problem. But she got to make it. And I think a lot of the people that donated to her project weren't expecting the money back. Those were foundations, and the foundations were like, if you make it, we will be happy. We want it for community outreach or for whatever. I think in ours we have that because educators are interested in it. Foundations are interested in just the historical aspect of it, getting that information out there, the inspirational aspect of it, the entrepreneurial aspect of it, the diverse aspect of it. There a lot of things. We check a lot of boxes for a lot of people.
We do.
So I'm hoping that will be the way that we can at least finance a good half to 3/4 of it outside of the system.
See, now you made me think, like, if this presidential election goes the way I don't want it to go, this whole Project 2025 situation may affect your ability to appeal to educators. So to the point where...
Well, yeah, it'll basically be illegal to make these
stuff
projects
like this.
Yeah, exactly. Which is all the more reason why
it's important for it to get out.
And here's the thing too, because I say, like, is this a comic book? We're just making a comic book, y'all. Mm-hmm. It's like we historically that's the way we've had to do stuff. So this is just like, look, we're telling the story, comic book form. It will do what it's going to do. Mm-hmm. In a perfect world, comic book revenue would just boom, fund a film. But what it does is it gets the word out to people who, there's a lot of Bitcoin billionaires. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of money out there. Mm-hmm. And most people with money. I will say a good portion of people with money throughout history. If it's Howard Hughes, he wanted to make movies. If it's Jeff Bezos, he wants to make movies. That there is a long tradition of people making movies. Making money and then wanting to make movies first. Mm-hmm. And so I think that we will be a fun movie to make. For them. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Okay. Tell me about how it attracted you. Like, what about it appealed to you specifically?
Honestly, brother, I was the project was brought to me, via my brother Chris Cooper, who works at Legion M, which is the lead production company on the film. And he called me and said, I got a project I think you might be interested in. I want you to come on as a producer. He's like, if you want to act in it, because that's my forte is acting, he's like, we can find a role for you, but that's down, when we get to that point, he's like, we're still in development of the script and the story, but like we have a script and we want you to read it and we would love for you to come in and help produce this thing. I personally, I'm embarrassed to say, when he brought me the project, I didn't know who Robert Smalls was.
Okay.
Right? So after reading about Robert Smalls, reading the script, going down the rabbit hole, doing my own homework on it, I said, why don't people know? Like, first of all, I'm embarrassed I don't know. And then it was a thing of like, why don't people know about this guy? Mm-hmm. And it sat on me for days of like, golly.
You can't blame yourself like that.
Yeah, like, and especially in a climate and a time, because this was about 4 years ago, right? So where we were 4 years ago. I don't have to bring it up. No, as a black man, where we were 4 years ago. As
most
black
certainly
people,
do.
Right?
Certainly do.
But it was one of the things like, man, they're really not telling the truth about our history
at all.
And they're trying to stomp out our present.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And extinguish our present. So it became a purpose for me. First of all, I called him and said, yes, I'm in. Whatever we got to do. And one of my mentors at the time, was still my mentor, but at the time, my mentor, the way they kind of like reeled me in was Bill Duke, who's a mentor of mine, a big brother of mine, is also a producer on the film. Okay. Yeah, he's a producer on the film as well. He was in on it. He's like, look, man, you need to meet with these guys. He was like egging me on to do it. And I was like, bro, I'm all in. And because stories like this are erased from American history, to be a part of a project like Defiant that gives us an opportunity to be a part of not just history, but rewriting of a wrong history. Right. Very important to me, very impactful in my life personally, and became a day-to-day mission for me. In all of the different roles I'm playing and everything, this is like one of those things where it's like, okay, this is on the schedule of things that I have to do.
You see, I've come to find that once one thing lights that spark, and it's not even about. It's not even about creativity. It's about a certain level of representation.
Yeah.
That damn. Once I'm gone, other people behind me
Yes.
are going to be left with
Yes.
whatever I leave or whatever I don't leave.
Yes.
And if I don't do this,
Yeah.
they're never going to have that option.
Right.
You know, so
Yeah.
I'm beginning to learn that what is for you is for you.
Yeah, man.
So when it hits you, you gotta go.
You gotta go. This is so true, brother.
You know, and
Demetrius, that's true.
I'm in that mode right now myself.
Yeah.
But I want to talk to you about that, because the thing is, it's all about for me.
Yeah.
I've got a almost 5-year-old little boy, right?
Yeah.
And seeing him grow up in the world where he can look at an action figure of his father and be like, that's you. I'm like, yes, it's me. And knowing that I grew up not even having that, knowing that there were limited options, if any at all.
Right.
For when I was coming up in like 84 to 86, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So I look at that, and then I look at the landscape of what media is giving us today.
Right.
I deserve a full meal. Why am I only getting crumbs?
Amen.
You know? And the reason why I say that is because this is a streaming service that we are close to getting funded. And the thing is, these are all original IP that we've yet to produce.
Okay.
But they're fully developed, willing to have more writers and more producers on it, people who want to act in on it, and it's all black speculative fiction.
Right.
If you want to lend your voice to any of these projects,
man.
These are projects that are already made, but then these people can't get funding.
Right.
Why can't they get funding?
Right.
It's because they don't look like them.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And then when you think
that's incredible.
When you think about it, black people are relegated to only drama, action, and comedy. Black speculative fiction, this is all we got.
Right.
We
I see you got,
We barely.
I see your presentation.
This is the beta. I can send you the beta.
Right.
You can play with it if you want to.
Right. That's it. Very.
You know,
good.
if you want to.
I just started watching them too.
Which one?
Them.
Oh yeah.
That one. Yeah, I just started watching that one. But you're right. 100%.
And then we are viable. These things are viable because Suicide by Sunset. That's going feature film.
Right.
And this was a fan like short film.
Right.
So people can see that there are value in our stories when we are not slaves, or when we are not drug dealers, when we're not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We can be werewolls. We can be vampires. We can be anything.
Yeah, and it's starting to happen more because I think we're getting more black writers, black producers, black directors.
But they're stunted.
But they are. They are.
Just like how Mr. Edwards was saying that, you have an audience before you get to your audience, which is the executives.
Yeah.
We don't need to be explained what code switching is like they do.
Right.
So let's say you have an idea that is purely your own, and you want to run with it the way that they let Zack Snyder run.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You come to us and be like, go.
Right.
Here's the funding for it.
Right.
Go. This is your playground. This is your black speculative playground. Black people in Gundams?
Right.
Why don't we have that already?
And we have, it's funny, I won't say any names, but we have, guys who own studios now, black people that own studios and have full productions and the ability to tell stories, like that, but are also caught in distribution and network issues that makes it, they have to keep regurgitating the same narrative.
We are our own distribution model.
Right.
Have you heard of BlurCon?
Yeah.
Okay. Second largest black nerd convention in the country.
Right.
We sponsored the live stream.
Right. Okay.
If you go to BlurCon's YouTube channel, Blur Station is all over the place.
Right.
We are a part of the community. They plucked me from the community to help bring this to the community, so that we can help build out things. Because apparently, I've got Netflix executives following me, and they're like, "If you want to bring this to the Blur community, this is the guy you need to talk to."
Right.
Because my organization is designed to help build black-owned comic book conventions. If you Google black-owned comic book conventions, I'm the only one that comes up. My website, it's a green book.
Right.
It's called the Green Book of Black-owned conventions.
Right.
There's only 31 of them in the country.
Right.
And I'm the only comprehensive list of them.
Right.
So I'm trying to make sure that everyone gets what we deserve when it comes to these regular conventions.
Right.
But we get piddles. We don't get no funding. We don't get sponsorships. It's because our footprint isn't large enough, because who is keeping us from outside the real rooms?
Right.
So to me, this is not keeping. This is, you know how you say like the black dollar leaves the black community within 30 minutes.
Right.
Because you get Adidas, you get Nikes, you get you know whatever.
Right.
This here keeps the dollar black, but it also keeps it blurred.
Right.
So we're circulating, and then we'll be able to pay all of our talent with the subscriptions of the people who watch their stuff.
Right.
Right now we're developing a show. We got Wayne Johnson to sign on to one of our projects. Actually, we've got Michael Jai White and his wife and Orlando Jones on another
Yeah, I know Orlando.
Yeah, on this one, Unit 4.
Right.
That's the one that they're signed on to do.
Right.
You know how everyone's saying you all are not getting paid what you're worth.
Right.
Instead of being called the Black Meryl Streep, Viola should be just Viola. Right. So if our distribution, if our payment model is $10.99 a month, $1 from every one of those the subscriptions that comes underneath that project or that actor goes to the actor into perpetuity for as long as the person signed up for. That's the RDJ, that's the Tom Cruise deal.
Right.
You're getting paid for something that you did once the way that they are.
Right. That's a great model, man.
And that helps the black community.
Right.
It helps the black creatives because y'all are actually getting what the fuck y'all. Excuse me. Y'all getting.
Yes, you're passionate about it.
Y'all getting.
I see you're super passionate about it.
Yeah, man. Because again, I have this little one.
Yeah, man.
If I'm not doing what I can to make sure that his life is better in the macro sense, then what am I doing?
Right.
Because it's not just about him; it's about all these other little kids.
Right.
Like the reason why I was geeking over you so much is because you were a part of something. I met Stretch. I met I can't think of his name now, but because I think it was Skeeter for some reason. But anyways, but I met him and I met a few other folks back in 2019, and I was at the DC premiere event, and when y'all did it, and those first few episodes of Black Lightning were so black.
Yeah, man.
And it felt like y'all did this for us.
It was.
And then we could see over the seasons things change.
Yeah, well,
we saw a little, and it felt disheartening a little bit because y'all were getting away from what made y'all y'all.
Right.
I don't want that anymore.
Right.
I want y'all to be you.
Right.
Because you're fucking awesome, man.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
You know,
Thank you,
so
man.
if I can do anything to get everyone interested in just seeing what this value could truly be, so that you can make the choice to be as creative as you want to be without those kinds of restrictions.
Right.
Imagine the world we can have.
Right. No, I understand, brother. That's why we're doing Defiant. That's why, that's why we're doing Defiant. And
because I'm friends with Sebastian too.
Yeah.
And so he's
a big part of Defiant. Shout out to Sebastian Jones and Stranger Comics.
Yeah.
He's doing remarkable work over there already. And he saw the power and ability of telling this story, and the people at Legion M as well, who produce a lot of great things independently, on their own merit. The first crowdfunded film studio is actually doing things that are of merit and of good quality and credit. And
we're modeling ourselves after them.
Yeah,
and we're trying to make sure that we zero in on the one underrepresented demographic.
Right.
Because again, you can say, "Oh, I'm making black content."
What do you think about the first chance?
Right.
Are we a monolith?
Right.
No.
Right.
If you take the Tyler Perry model, Tyler Perry focused on the church-going black woman.
Right.
That doesn't appeal to everybody, but it's still something he focused on, and it made him that money and made him up in a position.
Powerful.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we focus on
that's something you need to let him see too, because it's something that he has the power and the resources to do it. I think that at the same time, you have to go where you are celebrated.
Go where you're invited.
Not just tolerated, right?
Right.
You go where you're celebrated,
right.
and that's okay. So, credit to a Tyler Perry or 50 or whoever's doing things where they're celebrated for what they're doing. And because what it does ultimately is it opens up the landscape for people to see the possibilities of what can be done. And that's what we're doing with the Robert Small story, Defiant, is
because he did a lot.
We're opening up to show you, and even in his life, right, as a model, Robert Smalls in the times of slavery, Civil War, and Jim Crow, and pre-Jim Crow, actually Reconstruction, he showed you the possibilities. He showed you in his life, right, what was possible, not just for a black man, but for a human being, and who just happens to be black, and is looking at the system that he's faced with, and is doing what it takes to change that system, right? Being defiant is the title, right?
Right.
Being defiant in that way. And I see, brother, you being defiant with what you're doing, and as far as the Hollywood construct is, right, or the superhero construct,
it's
or the
never
blurred
worked
construct.
for us.
But somebody got to do it.
Yeah.
See, somebody got to do it.
Yeah.
And that's how Robert Smalls thought. He thought somebody got to do it. You know what I'm saying? And if not who, if not me, then who? If not now, then when? Right? So that's the model, brother. Like that's the key to it.
That's the template.
That's the template.
Yeah. And then we have a good team.
Yeah.
We have an amazing team.
Good.
And all the faces are black.
Right.
And we just acquired Wayne, and now Triptych, which is a Canadian-based VFX company,
right,
full of black folks.
Right.
Soon as we said we were partnering with BlurCon, they reached out to us. They're like, "Listen, we want to work with you."
Right. Right.
And they've done Kendrick Lamar videos. They've done like a couple of something like that. All right. This is where we're getting to the big leagues now.
Right. Right.
So I was talking to Bo DeMayo last night about this, and he's like, "I'm interested. I wanna see what is possible."
Yeah, man.
So because I hit that entire diversity panel with the questions like, y'all were just talking about the fight to get black actresses, the fight to get black writers, the fight to get a woman in the writer's room.
Right.
What if I gave you an opportunity to say, what if a studio came to you and was like, you can just have a playground,
right,
and that fight isn't a fight anymore.
Right.
You're just thriving. Would you be willing to work with them? And all of them was like, absolutely. I was like, here's the beta.
Right.
And they're like,
right.
So,
right.
Like I said, I'm glad that I'm here. I'm fortunate to be here, but this is what I'm supposed to be doing, because I don't think anybody else that I know would be able to get you to see there is another way.
Right. There is.
And I'm an 80s kid, so I'm indoctrinated by television,
Right.
May the power protect you. The power is yours.
Right.
I have the power.
Right. Right.
Why am I not?
Right.
Using what I have to get this done.
Right. Totally, brother. Totally. I'm all in.
My man.
My brother.
Give me your